Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Hi, I am Rajendra Bhatia from Creative Edge. Friends, I have chosen a very important, vital, and a question of today. NATA 2022, how to attempt design questions. Now, first of all, we have to understand one thing, that the type of question those are asked in NATA, they are one, that the preferential type of selection question, that is 3 correct options are according to the preferences, 3 marks each. Whereas multiple choice question, those are there in with NATA, they are like 2 select correct answers and they are 2 marks each, whereas multiple choice question again select 1 correct answer, 1 mark each. Friends, now one must understand that this is just a simple understanding that 3 mark question will carry maximum weightage. However, let us also try to understand as to how they are further divided, like how they actually give weightage to the subject. When we look into the different part of our course, what we find that the design questions are about 50 of them, which I will further give you the differential of it, how many questions are of 3 marks and then there are questions of 2 marks and questions of 1 mark each. There are 50 questions, but the weightage is 115 marks to only design. And today I am going to talk about how to attempt design questions, that is the maximum marks to be calculated out of the total NATA questionnaires. However, at the same time, verbal reasoning, there are going to be 10 questions of 20 marks. That means each question will be about 2 marks each. Then reading comprehensions and verbal ability. Your things will be 25 question of 25 marks. That means 1 mark each question. General awareness and current affairs, that will be like you understand English language, how you perceive it, and you could answer it. They are going to be 15 question about, and they will be carrying 1 mark each. Whereas quantitative aptitude, 5 marks only with 5 questions, and non-verbal reasoning will be 20 with 20 marks. Now friends, when you look at the next chart, you may as well start debating, sir, this is carrying only let's say 43 questions of design, but let us look into each bifurcation and I will try to explain you how the question jump over from one subject to another. Altogether, we have to study quantitative aptitude, verbal reasoning, non-verbal reasoning, general awareness, architecture awareness, which is very, very important. I will call it as AAT, architecture awareness test. Then English language, design principles. There are total going to be 73, 29 and 23 questions. That means 73 of 1 mark each, 29 question of 2 marks each, 23 question of 3 marks each, altogether 125 question to be answered within the 3 hours. So quite naturally, looking at the chart, you could divide it. When we really tried analyzing, there could be a little debate, non-verbal and the design questions. Now this debate is of less use because lot of non-verbal reasoning are actually the design questions, but to be solved in the pattern of non-verbal reasoning. So don't worry, take it by and large that there are 50 marks, 50 questions carrying 115 marks. Let us go further into the details of how to take up these questions one by one. I have brought in some of the sample questions to discuss. And friends, these are very vaguely designed questionnaire. Don't take that this is important question, the IMP question. However, you will understand the pattern by the question and the answers. Now, this still life picture is an example of there are four options: pyramidal composition, proportion, scale, and sciography, power of imagination, and hollow structure. Answer, you have to give 3 correct answer, but put them in the preferential of or the weightage of the answer. According to me, answer B is correct and has the first preference: proportion, scale, and sciography. This composition is meant for light shade shadow. Sciography is the light shade shadow. Scale, that means one body to another, the comparison of the sizes. And proportion is length, width, and height or depth of the same object. Length, width, and height of the same object. Length, width, height of one object or each object. So the preferential answer would be B, A, and C, whereas D is wrong. Hollow structure here has no relevance. I have selected this question. Now this type of question may be many, and you will find it in different courses offered such kind of questions. The question has been derived from 2 things together. One, the type of design, and the other is the architecture awareness. So constructivist architecture emerged from the wider constructivist art movement, which grew out of Russian futurism. Choose 3 features related to it: tension cables, concrete frames, steel girders, metal windows. My preferential answers are A, B, and C: tension cables, concrete frames, steel girders. Whereas D is wrong. It necessarily need not to have metal windows. One more question. Now this question has been derived from logo design. Identify the terms which satisfy the given logo. Continuity, Adolf Dassler, all day I dream about sports, and color contrast. Very easily you can find out that all day I dream about a sport is not a technical answer to this. However, how would you give your answer? One of the Gestalt principle based on which this design has been made is continuity. The law or principle of continuity. Friends, now you find a new name here, Gestalt principle. While preparing for NATA, did you prepare with Gestalt principles? Am I going to cover it in my course at Creative Edge? Yes, the answer is yes. Continuity is the principle wherein, despite having these breaks, it looked like a continuous design. B, the name of the designer, Adolf Dassler. And D, the color contrast. Actually, this is an absolute contrast principle of design. High contrast, color contrast, I would fairly change it over to high contrast principle of design. Okay. Among the principle, the contrast, there are juxtaposition contrast, high value contrast and low value contrast. So among those, there is high value contrast, can also be called as the highest value of the color contrast. Now here is an artwork, a painting. Indicate the three most important visual elements principle used in the artwork given below. Krishna, Spring in Kullu, is a painting by Nicholas Roerich. He has Krishna playing the flute under a tree in blossom with majestic snow-covered mountains in the backdrop. We all know that Roerich was fascinated with the mountain artwork. Like in every artwork you would find, in every artwork of Roerich you would find mountains. And in this case, yes, he has used so many interesting principles. The option given here are similarity, emphasis, visual texture, asymmetrical balance. Now we can see one, that emphasis is there. To what? Krishna. Everything is focused. Even if you take law of third, you will find that one of the golden focal point is in and around Krishna. So emphasis is the first principle that will implement in this artwork of Roerich. C, the visual texture. Yes, with the texture itself you can find that this is tree and these are mountain. With this texture you can say that yes, this is a snow mountain. D, asymmetrical balance. Although Krishna is on this side, if you divide this either vertically or horizontally, you will find that every part is well balanced either with the color or by the structure. The visual weight is in balance, although there is focal point towards Krishna. So asymmetrical balance is also correct. My preference of choice would be B, the emphasis, which is on Krishna, C, the visual texture, and D, the asymmetrical balance. Friend, one thing I would like to clarify here. You may give your preferential answer. However, only all three correct preferential answer will get 3 marks. There was one time, year before last, then that time even if you had all 3 correct answer but your preferences were different, you would still get 2 out of 3. But now they have stopped giving it, and that's why the numbering or the result has really dropped down, because bringing out all the 3 preferential answer correctly in the sequence is the requirement of the day to day. So you give maximum amount or maximum time to solve all these preferential questions. They are less in number but carry maximum numbers for you. Remember, all 3 correct sequential preferential answer will get the numbers. Who do not know Sir B.V. Doshi? He is one of India's greatest architects. Some must be knowing what is his achievement. He got Pritzker Award the most reputed award for an architect. Some laymen started calling it as the Nobel Prize for Architecture. There is nothing like Nobel Prize for Architecture. It is the Pritzker Award, which is most reputed and has got a value equivalent to Nobel Prize in architecture. Well, he is the only Indian architect to have received Pritzker Award in the history of Pritzker Award. Okay, so Sir B.V. Doshi is one of India's greatest architects. His famous works are, now I have shifted. These 3 questions were 3 answers correct, and now I have come to the 2 correct answers. Now here 2 correct answers will get 2 marks. There is nothing like preferential here. Preferential goes into 3 markers. Indian Coffee House, Thiruvananthapuram, World Leprosy Mission, NIFT Delhi, and CEPT University Ahmedabad, out of which C and D are correct. I have shifted over to the next question that I brought as, or I selected as 2 marker. It is a floor plan of famous monument. Identify the feature of the monument by observing the floor plan. All the time they do not run after you to only name the monument, although that also is important, but some of the features, you must be looking into many of the monuments and their pictures. Try to read about their features, because that is how you are going to read the blueprints. These are called as the plan in blueprints. So unless you know the feature of the structure, you may not be able to lastly name it also. However, in this question I have only taken the features. It is the floor plan of a famous monument. Identify the feature of the monument by observing the floor plan. Which is more important, right? So Roman architecture. Why? Because of the dome shaped pillars, dome shapes and the pillars. So Roman architecture, large circular dome, square column and huge steps. Where are square column? There are no square column. So and huge step is no feature. So A and B are the correct answer. Moving on to the next question that I have selected. What is blueprint in architecture? Process drawing, technical drawing, engineering drawing, construction drawing. Friends, is it process drawing? No. Technical drawing? Yes. Engineering drawing? Yes. Construction drawing? No. Construction drawing has got further details, and it is in the process of the construction drawing that the construction drawings are submitted or produced by architect to give it to the site supervisor, and who ultimately get the work done. But it is basically technical drawing and engineering drawing. So that is how you can select your answers from the or 2 choice questions. Now to identify the architect of this building, the architect of this building was William Emerson. The design is in the Indo-Saracenic revivalist style, which uses a mixture of British and Mughal elements with Venetian, Egyptian, Deccan architecture influences. The building is 338 by 228 feet, that is 103 by 69 meters, and rises to a height of 184 feet, that is 56 meter. It is constructed of white Makarana marble. A blueprint has been given. You just need to recognize it. The Victoria Memorial, Kolkata is the right answer. One pointer. So much of explanation. Now, out of the color theory and terminology, I have been observing it for last 2 years and 4 examinations of NATA, that very typical visual terminologies have been introduced in the examination, which never used to be there before the first online examination after the pandemic was announced, wherein they withdrew all the physical drawings with these so-called the high design quotient questions, and high design quotient questions are the ones where they have included visual perception and different terminology related to that. Well friends, this kind of questions were asked, and at times they are given more value than just one point answer. The visual illusion whereby impression of depth is conveyed in 2-dimension color images is called. Refer the given image and then answer 1 out of the 4. Metamerism, chromostereopsis, basalt effect, Thatcher effect. The right answer is chromostereopsis. One can very well see that the red portion, now it is typical with chromostereopsis that red and blue combination, or at time you have got orange and green combination, wherein one color, which is a flat 2-dimension color, gives a feel of depth, and that is where it is because of the huge difference in the wavelength of the two color. So what you find that one color takes the area into the depth. In this case, you can very well find that the red color is bringing up the design, whereas the blue color along with the black takes it in the depth. Although the color applied are purely in 2-dimension format, but the feel of the depth is experienced, and that happens. This term is known as chromostereopsis, whereas in metamerism there is different, like two object looks different in different lighting conditions. So all these terms one should get really prepared with. I will come back to revising on to the whole PPT that I have presented, so that you can understand as to what actually is going to be the NATA questionnaire. Which principle does this picture represent? Now, principle of design: transformation, rhythm, pattern and repetition and continuity. Now one can get really confused in case you haven't really studied all the principle very clearly. See, even the continuity look good for it, like these lines take you to continuity, or there is a radial pattern. So pattern and repetition could also be one of your answer. However, only one answer is asked, so more probable answer is the rhythm caused by this, and that indeed is the correct answer. Transformation doesn't fit into it, but rest of three answers are little confusing, but they have asked only one answer. one pointer in the among the questions, so you better take it as rhythm. Rhythm is most preferential answer to this. So at time it may be just the preferential answer, but you have to give the only one. That is the first one. So I selected these 10 questions for you only for sake of giving you some of the examples and work out some plan for you to look into the NATA syllabus more intelligently, take out your design quotient more into it, and really practice out some of the questions. I will go retrospectively back onto the first part of my PPT presentation, so that you get a little revision to what I tried explaining to you. Let us go with number 10. That was the question was asked on the principle of design. Again, this question was asked on the visual perception of the design. This was more reading of the blueprint, architecture awareness question. Again, the question on basics of the blueprint. 3 questions I selected from the blueprint, and this was the floor plan, reading of the floor plan. So one could be reading of the plan, there could be conceptual question on the blueprint, and there could be reading of the blueprint. You don't take everything as such that blueprint there will be only 2-pointer question, there could be 3-pointer question also onto the blueprint. So you get prepared with the subject and not try to be judgmental with the number that are allocated in this slide or otherwise. Now these are more awareness question, like the one asked onto the architect Sir B.V. Doshi. However, you must have been reading about all the architecture awareness questionnaire. This is one of them. Reading or studying different artists and their work may fetch you very good marks. So go into studying the history and the famous artist, both Indian as well as Western. Do not ignore logos. Try to understand Gestalt principles. That is how you will be able to answer many of the questions. Now, Gestalt principles are always not asked on the basis of logos. They may be asked among the principle of design onto such work like the Rorick work. So Gestalt principle is important. Then type of architecture, this is again AAT question, type of architecture. So you must be reading about that. Then there could be simple question on compositions. This is a 3-dimensional composition. Right friends, I am sure you got some of idea about how to really attempt NATA questions and crack the NATA examination with high percentage. High percentage will mean very good college, admission in very good college, and that's what is required. Thank you very much for being with me, and I look forward for you all to prepare really hard and crack NATA with high percentage. I wish you all the best, friends, and it is my earnest request, do not ignore any nook or corner of the subject or syllabus. Thank you very much. Any question or query on to how to crack NATA, how to attempt design questions on architecture entrance test, please revert back to the Creative Edge or Top Rankers. You will get the helpline numbers down below. Thank you very much for being with me. Bye bye for now.